Dominance is a game of advantages. Level leads, unique buffs, and higher tier weapons are just a few ways players scale up their power. Not even mentioning current location, gear, perks, talents, and even if you're indoors or not. So if you aren't spending your time fighting tooth and nail for each and every advantage, you will fall behind. I am here to give you the knowledge to understand why this happens and to show you the flow of dominance. First things first, picking a spawn location is very important. We will talk about how to pick your starting items a bit later in the character section. The areas of the map with green difficulty give bonus defense and allow you to interact faster, so actions like picking up these little experience granting micro shines are faster. Areas with the orange difficulty give players bonus experience, allowing them to level up faster. In addition, their abilities will have faster cooldowns, making fights and movement much more frantic. The areas with the red difficulty means everything does more damage and your weapon shotgun is narrower, meaning you will put more shots on target. So you've picked which starting area you want and the game has just dropped you in. It can be so easy to just run into a building and do the whole battle royale thing, but I've noticed much more success with going to the nearest shrine first. Shrines are these revive towers that grant you experience based on how long it's been since someone interacted with it. At the start of the game, these will have a decent amount of XP, and will often get you level 2 before you start to clear buildings. This experience is only given to players in the circle, however, so be mindful of that when starting at these. You will often find enemies here too in some of the more popular areas, so be ready. If you're feeling more aggressive, you can also go for one of the airdrops right at the start. Red is for weapons, blue is for armor and consumables, and green is for artifacts. The other plus side is that killing these chests will grant you nearly 3 levels of experience at the start and a few gold quality pieces. This requires a bit of luck and may be hotly contested over. I say, come fight me if you dare. And finally, you will also see super chests on your map as well. These grant more experience than a normal chest and will have some green items in them. These can also be a great place to start out or move to directly after going to a shrine. As for a more hostile objective, there are a few mobs that are also very important that you may be overlooking or underestimating. The wasp will grant you a buff that reduces disables. The crab will give you a boost to healing effects and a shorter recovery time from being knocked. And the worm gives you armor shred to your attacks. Each of these effects can stack up to 3 times, which amounts to a hefty buff. These mobs can be difficult to take down early, but the strength that they provide cannot be understated, especially the wasp. So as you move around the map, ensure that you are always moving towards one objective or another and consistently push to take more buffs for yourself. Taking a buff is twofold. Not only are you increasing your own power, you are also denying power from enemy teams as well. As you move around the map, you will see these little floating stone thingies. They are called micro shrines and grant a little bit of experience to not only you, but your team as well. They also provide a 10% heal and do not take you out of stealth nor interrupt consumable use. So now that we understand the pieces that make up the map as a whole, what about the items? When you pick up an item or a piece of equipment, you will be actively working on upgrading those specific pieces. As you break open chests, you will be given experience, and any items you already possess will consume the newly dropped same item to upgrade it. This is how your weapons go from white to purple, or tiers 1 through 4. Tier 5 is yellow and only comes from the airdrops I mentioned earlier. The higher the rarity of the item you pick up, the more it will upgrade your current weapon. It goes the standard white, green, blue, purple, with the yellow a separate but higher tier. If you still have a white weapon in the orange or red phase, you may be in trouble and want to swap it out for something higher tier, even if it isn't exactly what you are wanting to use. The difference in these tiers is important, and blue is the minimum needed to do decent damage as you hit the levels 6 and above. Dominance is a game about the flow of battle and harnessing what you have around you to leverage your strengths and defeat your opponents. If you keep a solid mind about what you are striving to do, but never get the components, you will fall flat. So now, with all of this in mind, let's look at some seekers, how respawning works, and have a conversation about the philosophy of this game. Yeah, that's right. As of right now, there are 5 seekers. Each one is distinct, having access to a bit of utility or power that no one else has. Veteran has an absolute massive pull move and can roll for days. Valkyrie has a massive bubble that blocks most things, but not all, and deflects all lasers, except for the actual laser. Finn is a teleporting bushwhacking speedster. Hunter has a stun. And Stalker doesn't know what walls are and has an invisibility that would make Evelyn blush. Leave your expectations at the door. Each and every one of these can be built in multiple different ways that make them insanely fun. I thought Veteran was a brain-dead CC control monster until I realized he could actually be a Beyblade. Playing a bunch of Stalker, I felt Hunter was absolutely broken until I realized the boomerang couldn't pass through walls, but I could. Valkyrie's shield felt oppressive when all I wanted to use was the laser projectile weapons, but cracking it with a good old-fashioned shotgun is just so satisfying. The devs have tooled each of these kits to play around one another's strengths. In each of those kits lies talents that help you to bolster some weaknesses that you may realize others are looking for in any given game. As for the starting items you pick, seeing as they are random, you should definitely go for the one you enjoy or feel is stronger early. As for the standouts, I will nearly always grab the armor with the boot on it, as I seem to have problems finding it in the game. Most of that, I think, comes from that one being the most common one that damage dealing players use, as it gives force and doesn't slow you down. I will sometimes grab the Katana too, as it gives you an invisibility that can be incredibly good early game when people simply aren't hunting for you actively. I've snuck a lot of airdrops with this one. Just remember, it's about being comfortable, or to be the weapon you want to upgrade. Grabbing stuff for your build is great, but sometimes grabbing something that is good early like a submachine gun can help you to get the weapon that you really want later on. The bullet-based weapons are particularly menacing early. As for our last point, let's talk about the death system. When knocked down, you will have a timer that denotes when you will revive. If you are in a shrine or you have an ally near you, that time will speed up dramatically. Damage taken will increase this timer, as will consecutive downs. During the first part of the game, called the green phase, you can revive as many times as you want. When you die, you will drop some of your gear at random, so despite reviving, you will take a hit to your character's power. Once you get to the orange phase, you will have one and only one life left. In the red phase, any death is final. This means fighting doesn't mean a whole lot early on. You can easily get caught up brawling with bots or other players. While it can be fun to bully the computers, this is a bit of a waste of time and should be considered a less than optimal idea. Places like the church become something you simply cannot escape from if you try to get back your dropped items. So always be mindful of how much value you put on that green or blue item that you may be able to loot from somewhere else without the wasted time of fighting when you don't need to. I think this covers most of the mechanics and how they interact with the player on a base level. I didn't even begin to mention how there are other mechanics at play, like how the sniper rifle sees through stealth when aiming in that direction, or how being indoors grants you a fortification buff that you lack when outside. Let me know if you would like to see another video on small things like that. Before you leave, however, I have one more thing I wanted to mention about this game. I went looking for a press kit when I made my first couple of videos for some graphics to use in the thumbnails, because surely you've noticed how little info there is about this game at the time of making this video. At the top of the press kit, there is a line that told me a lot of what I needed to know about what this sort of game wanted to be, and I want to share it with you. The main principle of dominance is the less limitations, the better. This is a huge field for experiments with character builds, weapons, and playstyles. And boy, am I here for it. Subscribe if you are too, and thumbs up if this helped. I love making guides like this for games I care for. I hope I can get others to get into this insanely fun game and get more of these lobbies filled with quality opponents. Have a good night.
Got him.
Yeah. Holy shit, Finn is busted. What is that?
Us two is just so busted.
It's so hard to stop us from just... Oh my god, it's so awesome. No.